Happy Lane Day, everybody, because today the Montreal Canadiens will play off against the Detroit Red Wings, and we will see the very first game of prospect Lane Hutson as a member of the Habs. I'll just say this at the beginning of the video, that the fact that we are even here, the fact that this guy was drafted 2 years ago in the second round, and now he is making one of the most anticipated debuts for the Montreal Canadiens that we have seen in years. That's a pretty big deal. Like, let's be honest here. Habs fans were excited when Juraj Slafkovsky was coming over to Montreal, right? Habs fans were excited when Cole Caulfield signed and eventually made his debut. But Lane Hutson? Is it fair to say that the hype for this guy is higher than those other two? I don't know. I think it's fair. If you disagree, let me know in the comments section below, but either way, the fact that this is a second-round guy from 2 years ago who is now making his NHL debut and who has all the hype in the world behind him, that's a big deal. And look, I'll say this again, I've said this multiple times in the prior videos, but I am a secondary Habs fan. The Red Wings are my third favorite team. Vancouver's my number one. So, because of the circumstances of all of these teams, I'm going to say the best case scenario for Montreal in this game as well as next game, both against Detroit, please lose in regulation. Please further your standings in the NHL Draft for this year, and please bolster up your chances at winning Macklin Celebrini. And for the Red Wings, they need these 2 points as much as they have needed 2 points any other time in the past decade. So it's a win for everybody involved if the Montreal Canadiens lose and the Red Wings are able to take 4 points from the Habs in these next 2 games. Of course, you want to see the Canadiens guys getting points still. Lane Hutson, it'd be nice to see him get a goal or a few assists. Slafkovsky, we want to see him get points as well. But as a fan of both the Wings and the Habs, let's go Red Wings. Let's go Red Wings. I know it's going to piss some people off because I said that, but you know what, Habs fans, it's a lot better if they lose because their bolstered draft position is going to be worth it. But either way, in today's video, what I wanted to do, in preparation for the Canadiens and the Red Wings game, was go over an article published on Montreal Hockey Now by Mark Dumont that goes over a very simple premise. Here's what to expect from top Canadiens prospect Lane Hutson. Now, I like this article for a number of reasons. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read it yourself. I'd highly recommend you do it. It's a great read. But firstly, the graphic. My gosh, this is an amazing picture. Lane Hutson just in front of the skyline of Montreal with a slick color profile and signature right over the bay there. Nice, nice, nice. And of course, the text contents of the article are also pretty good too. Mark Dumont, as very self-explanatorily as you could get, is describing what the Montreal Canadiens can get from Lane Hutson. The first thing that he points out is that Lane Hutson is creative. The first thing fans will notice is that Hutson is always looking to turn any situation into a scoring opportunity. He uses his creativity and elite deception to execute plays that catch defending players by surprise. He's particularly adept at taking advantage of chaotic situations such as bad line changes or gaps in defensive coverage. And this is one of the things that I think is going to surprise a lot of opposing NHL players when Lane Hutson makes his debut on the ice. We've seen how the Red Wings can sometimes take their foot off the gas pedal once in a while, so if there's a team that Lane Hutson has the potential to embarrass, hey, I'm sorry, I'm a Red Wings fan, but Joe Veleno, Austin Czarnik, even to an extent Patrick Kane, you could debate that there's room for Lane Hutson to go out there and absolutely embarrass some of these guys in certain segments of play, especially in the Red Wings zone. Once Lane Hutson gets in his element, once he gets in his groove, there's no telling what this guy would even be thinking about doing. He is so creative on the ice. The next point that Mark Dumont goes out there and writes about is how Lane Hutson is able to create time and space. His greatest strength in the NCAA was how much space he would create for his teammates, particularly during the power play. And this is an observation that we have noted at great lengths as well, how Lane Hutson, being every second pass on the power play at the top of the umbrella, is a very defining player. He's always creating space. He's faking passes one way, he's using his body to indicate a certain thought process, process, but then quickly sending the puck over to the opposite side once the opponent commits to Lane Hutson's initial move. He does this a lot. He shimmy-shammies left-right, pretends he's going one way, and then quickly zips the puck across to the other side. I did say in the video a few days ago that I was kind of concerned as to where the Canadiens would play Lane Hutson on the power play, because we know he's good enough to get those minutes, and he's probably going to be given an opportunity there. But with Mike Matheson being as good as he was on the power play this season too, I'm still kind of skeptical, because it sends the wrong message in a way for Mike Matheson to be literally one of the top players in the NHL for defenseman points, only to have his role just completely taken away the very first game that a brand new NCAA signee steps into the lineup. Like, it doesn't send the best message, but of course, I get it. Like, you want to see Lane Hutson do his thing. It's just because Matheson has been so good at that role too, I do question what the Canadiens will do in that respect once the opportunity does arise. The article that we're looking at also goes over a lot of examples where Lane Hutson creates this time and space. There are a lot of pass setups, there are a lot of assists over here. The article then says that Lane Hutson is entertaining. Habs fans can expect Hutson to bring a certain flair to the table. He's no stranger to attempting 1, 2, or even 3 spinoramas in the same shift. Of course, he's not just spinning around in the ice because it looks cool as hell, though that is a perk. He's doing it to quickly make his way to an area on the ice with better shooting and passing lanes. And I've said this a bunch too, that when I watch Lane Hutson, when I see the BU Terriers doing their thing, I am reminded of Quinn Hughes, and I'm not going to say that Lane Hutson is going to be a 90-point NHL defenseman or that he'll be a Norris-caliber guy anytime soon, but stylistically, the way that Quinn is able to dance and spin around the ice like a ballerina, how he opens up space and how he creates lanes just with his movement and with his quick puck pivots, he is an exceptionally talented defenseman, and Lane exhibits similar playing style traits that I see out of Quinn. Of course, no guarantees here, just a thought. But it is interesting to note that the entertainment factor in Lane Hutson's game is something that I don't think Habs fans have really seen on their blue line since, I don't know, PK Subban? Like, when was the last time the Canadiens have had an offensive defenseman that can produce points while also bringing an extraordinary flair, like Lane Hutson or a PK Subban is capable of? This article then goes out there at the bottom and says a few more things about Lane Hutson, how he will help Yuri Slafkovsky produce. His presence on the power play should lead to great things for the youngest player in the lineup. Slafkovsky does not possess the same raw shooting talent as Macklin Celebrini, the player that Hutson set up for easy goals dozens of times this season for the BU Terriers, but Slafkovsky has shown an affinity for connecting on one-timers during the power play, which means that we could see some instant chemistry between the two 20-year-old players. And just think, if Macklin Celebrini was getting fed night in and night out by Lane Hutson, take that talent and you give him to Slafkovsky. How many more goals can Uri score? It'd be nice if he got a hat trick, with all 3 goals assisted by Lane Hutson, but of course, I'm personally rooting for the Red Wings to win the next few games here. Sorry, Montreal, but if it's like a 5-4 win for Detroit, where Slafkovsky and Caulfield and Hutson get a whole bunch of points, then okay, great. I mean, that's kind of best case scenario, right? But ultimately, at the end of the article here, it brings up the point that Lane Hutson is indeed confident. There are good odds that he'll become more selective when it comes to his decision-making in the NHL. The talent discrepancy between Hutson and the majority of NCAA players will not translate, at least not immediately. But once he is comfortable with his new settings, Canadiens fans could be treated to an endless stream of highlight reel plays that remind them of some of the many legends who have already written their chapter in the team's ever-growing book of hockey excellence. And then there's a piece at the end here talking about some of the negatives, about skating woes, and how Hutson is not perfect. But at the end of the day, this article is available in the description if you want to go ahead and read it, see some of the extra things about Lane Hutson. I just wanted to use this video as an opportunity to get everybody hyped for the game later today between Montreal and Detroit. What are your thoughts about Lane Hutson? What are your thoughts about the way he's going to demand respect on the ice? And if you're tuning into this video after the Wings and Canadiens game concludes, what are your opinions on how Lane had played? We might make another video later in the day, depending on what happens as to the results, but this video, I think, serves more so as just an introductory commentary. Hey, this is what you can expect. Lane Hutson can do this. He can be this good. He can have this role for the Canadiens. So if you're a Habs fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Lane Hutson and his debut with the team to come. It's at 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. Eastern. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.